Welcome to Banyan Books, Branches of Wisdom, celebrating the joy of bright ideas and heartful lifelong learning. Branches of Wisdom is a series of intimate conversations with the world's most influential authors and visionaries. We explore spirituality and the human mind, ecology and culture. Most episodes are recorded with a live audience. You can join our live events and submit questions to your favorite guests. Check out our upcoming schedule at banyan.com. Since 1970, Banyan Books has been a rich oasis at the crossroads of wisdom and philosophy, offering resources for humanity's evolving paths. We're a locally owned, independent bookstore in the heart of Vancouver's Kitsilano neighborhood. Visit us in person or shop online at banyan.com. Please subscribe, follow, like, and leave your reviews for the podcast. And now, enjoy.
Hello and welcome. My name is Jacob Steele, the events manager for Banyan Books and Sound. Today we are delighted to be hosting Julia Cameron in conversation with Joel Fotinos on Julia's new book, Living the Artist's Way, an intuitive path to greater creativity. I'd like to begin by first acknowledging that although we have participants joining us from around the world, the physical location of Banyan Books is on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Your donations help support these programs to be free for all. We invite you to click on the PayPal link in the YouTube show notes below to donate. Also, if you are so inspired, we invite you to click the thumbs up button below. This will help people to discover the conversation and Julia's wonderful work. Also, for those joining live today, Julia and Joel welcome your questions. Please type questions into the chat box at any time during the event. So now for introductions. Julia Cameron, hailed by the New York Times as the Queen of Change, is credited with starting a movement that has brought creativity into the mainstream conversation, in the arts, in business, in everyday life. She's the best-selling author of more than 40 books, fiction and nonfiction, a poet, songwriter, filmmaker, and playwright. Her book, The Artist's Way, has been translated into 40 languages and sold over 5 million copies to date. You can find her at juliacameronlive.com. In the new book, Living the Artist's Way, I'll just bring up the image, Julia finally reveals the vital fourth Artist's Way tool that she relies upon daily to find creative inspiration. And they will be talking about that today, I'm sure. I'd also like to introduce our other guest, Joel Fotinos. Joel was vice president and publisher at Penguin Random House for 21 years. He then became the founder, vice president, and editorial director of St. Martin's Essentials, the successful lifestyle imprint of the St. Martin's Publishing Group. Joel's books have been published in 14 languages. He and Julia have worked together and been friends for, I think, is it 28 years? Joel can correct me if I got that wrong, and counting. And Julia has described Joel as a kind of a muse. So it's a great honor to welcome them back. Please give a warm Banyan welcome to Julia Cameron and Joel Fotinos. Thank you.
Hi, Julia.
Hi, Joel. Hi, Banyan Books. It's good to be here. It's exciting. We are eager to talk to you and hear your questions. And we're eager to introduce the new book. Joel?
Yes, well, I want to begin by saying, first of all, underscore what you just said. Thank you to Banyan Books. Thank you for everyone being here. Please put questions in the comments field. I'll get to as many questions as I can. I'm the in-between you and Julia with the questions. And I love getting all the questions to ask Julia, and she loves answering them. And Julia, I just wanted to start with some good news. Living the Artist's Way is just out, but it's already in a second printing. So congratulations, that's amazing. That's just amazing. People are really loving it already. And at the same time, this is out just a year now, and we just went into a third printing on this. So congratulations for that, which is really great. Lots of good news. And for those of you who don't know it, and Julia would never say it herself, but Watkins Magazine, which is a respected magazine in the mind, body, spirit field, just put out their annual spiritual 100 list of the 100 most influential people in the area of mind, body, spirit. And Julia is on the list at number 9. So congratulations to that as well. You and the Artist's Way are really changing lives, Julia.
Well, thank you.
Shall we talk about the new book? What's so great about the new book is it introduces a full core Artist's Way practice. So why don't you talk about what the practice is and what the kind of how the book is written?
I'll do that in a second,
Sure.
but I'd like to ask everyone if we could please set an intention. So here's how we do it. It's a little bit woo-woo, but I find it helps greatly. So I'm going to count to 3. And when I get to 3, I'd like everybody here to set an intention for us to have an enjoyable, festive, informative, and hopefully a little bit humorous class. So I'm going to count to 3, and then if you set your intention and listen, if you could, to hear the good vibes that are spinning around all around you. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Set your intention. Okay. So now, Joel, you wanted me to talk about the new book.
Yes, and the new fourth, not new, but the fourth tool.
Okay. The new book is in diary form, and it takes you behind the scenes into my life as I live it, which is guarded and guided by guidance. And what do I mean by guidance? I mean information that seems to come from a higher source. And when I wrote The Artist's Way, I suggested that people write out a question and listen for an answer and get some guidance. And I was very casual, and I just said, try it. You'll like it. Well, then 30 years went by, during which time I used guidance frequently, and I never mentioned it again. And it was sort of the secret tool. And I found myself using it in all arenas of my life. And I found myself thinking, well, I can't write about this. People will think, well, that's Julia Cameron. She wrote one good book. and now she's sort of cracked. and, and she wants us to experiment with something intuitive, and we're not necessarily ready to do that. So, so I found myself hanging back and not writing about guidance. And then it got to the point where I began to feel like I was living a lie. I was working the 3 basic artist way tools of morning pages, artist dates, and walking. And then I was working a 4th secret tool of asking for guidance. So I finally decided, well, I better bite the bullet and try writing about it. And if people think I'm too woo-hoo, I'm just going to have to live with that. So, so after 30 years, I wrote the 4th essential tool. The PS secret tool is asking for guidance. And asking for guidance involves writing out a question. And it's important that you write it out. You ask a question, what about X? And ask about something specific that's troubling you. And then you listen and you see what you hear back. And when you hear something back, you write that out. So you end up with a dialogue of asking for guidance, receiving guidance, asking for guidance, receiving guidance. Okay, is that enough explanation, Joel?
That's pretty good, but let's get to the nitty gritty. The very first question that always comes up is, how is guidance different than the morning pages?
Aha. Okay. Morning pages are daily meanderings. They are 3 pages of longhand morning writing about absolutely anything and everything. So you're saying to the universe, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I want more of. This is what I want less of. And it's as if you're sort of poking a little whisk broom into all the corners of your life and bringing your issues into the center of the room. And you may experience a sense of guidance from morning pages, but it's not as direct and as specific as the guidance you receive when you ask for guidance. So it's a difference in tone. Morning pages have a sort of wondering and wandering tone, whereas guidance tends to be quite specific.
And morning pages, just so that everybody's very clear, the book goes into it in detail. It's a 6-week program. So you learn to do guidance over 6 weeks. You can really practice and do it. Morning pages are when you first wake up and you kind of empty into the morning pages, 3 handwritten pages. Guidance then is separate from that, and once you're empty, you're kind of open to receive, I guess, the guidance.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing I love, you mentioned that you wrote this book in a diaristic format, and I think people are really going to love that, because it's not a teaching book in the sense of, just all teaching material. It really is filled with stories of your life and how you use guidance for big things and for small things and everything in between. I think people think that guidance is only for the big questions like, who am I and why am I here? But you will write about, you have great stories in the book, like when you were getting air conditioning and feeling anxious about it, and you talk to guidance about that. So it can be about anything, right?
Yes, it can be about anything and everything. And it's characterized by being specific and direct. So when I write for guidance, I do it. I I tend to do it after my morning pages, and then again anytime during the day when I have a question. And sometimes it's sort of simple. I It's lunchtime, and I ask guidance, what should I do next? And guidance replies, eat. So it's simple and direct and benevolent.
Now, the next question that always comes is, Julia, where does the guidance come from?
And the answer to that is, I wish I knew. I've been using guidance for over 30 years. I've been asking for help from what I think of as higher forces. And I have never been able to get a straight answer from guidance about who they are and where they come from. I have a friend, a writer named Jacob Nordby, who's a spiritual writer and teacher. And he says, Julia, of course it's angels. But when I said to guidance, are you angels? The reply I got back is, Julia, we prefer to remain anonymous.
Now, what about for the people who say, Julia, what if it's just my imagination?
Well, if it's just your imagination is much more powerful and benevolent than you had previously thought.
It seems like guidance kind of connects us with our higher self, in a sense, kind of connects us with our spiritual self. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think it's important to say that with guidance, you're humbling yourself. You're saying, teach me, show me, help me. And this humbling of yourself and opening yourself to guidance does put you in touch with sort of an inner spiritual self. And I think it's important to say that guidance can be on anything and everything. And it is a very useful and pragmatic tool. I was worried that it would seem too woo-woo, by which I mean otherworldly. But then my experience of guidance is that it's very, very practical. You know, it's telling me eat, sleep. Joel?
It's grounding. It grounds you.
Yes, it's a very grounded tool.
Yeah. So another nuts and bolts question. Some people are going to say, well, Julia, I understand that morning pages is one thing, guidance is another thing. Do I have to get a separate notebook for my guidance, or can I use my morning pages journal as well?
Okay, this is a good question. I tend to use my morning pages journal. I write my morning pages, and then I put LJ for little Julie. And little Julie is the one who's asking for guidance. And she says, show me, help me, tell me. And I've lost the thread.
Which journal you can use for...
Thank you. So I think it's a good idea to keep a separate journal for guidance, and then you have a record, a written record of just what you asked for help with and just what help you received. But you can do it either way. You can do it in your morning pages journal, or you can do it in a separate journal.
Now, by the way, somebody just put in the chat, Julia, keep being woo-woo. They like it. Do you, for guidance, you say it's important to write it out. Somebody was asking, do they have to write it, or can they use their computer for that? Morning pages are always longhand. Does guidance always have to be longhand?
Well, I just can share my experience here. And my experience here is that guidance is also written out longhand. I think it's dangerous to use the computer because we tend to want to edit. And you don't want to edit your questions to guidance. So they're very short questions usually. You're just saying, help me. So I would recommend not using the computer.
All right. You'll have a more tactile experience, I think, with a pen and paper. Julia, what about people who say, I tried it, but I don't hear anything? What should I do?
I think guidance takes practice. And the voice of guidance can be subtle. And so if you say you don't hear anything, I would ask again and listen again. And again, remember that it's benevolent. So guidance will speak up on issues that you have perhaps been dodging. I recently had an experience. I was asking guidance about my writing and what should I write next. And so I put LJ, little Julie, what about my writing? And guidance replied, your sobriety is secure. And I thought, I'm not asking you about sobriety. I'm asking you about my writing. And I asked again, what about my writing? And again, guidance responded, your sobriety is secure. And then I realized that, I'm 46 years since my last drink. And I may tend to take it almost for granted. Although my writing, as I do it now, was born in my getting sober. So being reminded about my sobriety is actually a good thing.
Mm.
And guidance was responding to the most important issue.
Wow. That's really amazing. Did you say 46 years, by the way?
Yes.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
For
That's
46 years yesterday.
that's huge. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So Julia, do you write guidance kind of anywhere? I feel like I've seen you write guidance. Somebody asked, can you write for guidance in a noisy environment? And it reminds me that I've seen you write guidance in restaurants in New York City and places like that. What would you answer to that question about noisy environment?
I think if you listen and write guidance and focus yourself, you can write it in a noisy environment. I think what matters is your inner stillness. And of course, sometimes it's easier to be still when the environment is still. But I think the answer is either way.
Somebody asked, can guidance to a question come later as you go along with your day in something that you hear in a conversation or something that you see, for instance?
Well, I think it can, but I think you want to write directly, asking for help, and then the guidance will give you an answer, and then later in the day, you may have an experience of synchronicity. This is woo-woo. And where you hear something or see something or even may say something that's relevant to guidance. And you'll just think, oh, now I get it.
A couple people have noted the practice of asking a question with your dominant hand and answering with your non-dominant hand. Is there a similarity to that as there is with guidance?
Well, I don't use that practice, so I don't have experience with it. But I have a suspicion that it works.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say use your non-dominant hand to answer, in part because it's hard to read.
That's true. A couple people have also commented here, and a couple people in my own Artist Way groups have commented that sometimes in their morning pages, they feel like they get guidance as they're writing their morning pages. Have you ever had that experience?
Where the guidance sort of breaks through?
Yes, into your morning pages?
I don't know. I think guidance can break through, but then I want you to go back and finish your morning page.
And still do your 3 pages.
Yes.
We're also getting questions about the other tools. So let me just bring in some of those questions as well. And I'm just reminding people to, wait, I guess on the computer, my computer, the questions are over on that side to type them in, and I'll try to get to them. And if for some reason you ask a question and I don't get to it, just repeat it, because I may have missed it. Julia, somebody asked, for writers, what do you say to writers who struggle with writer's block and procrastination? And of course, this is what came to my mind.
Thank you, Joel. You love that book, I know.
I love this book. One of my groups right now is doing this book. It's really outstanding, this book, and it's so specific. But you answered that question about writer's block and procrastination.
All right. So I want to say the cure for writer's block and procrastination is morning pages. That we write whatever comes to mind, and we write down our first thoughts, and we don't edit, and that trains us to write our first thoughts and not edit. And I would take the procrastination question to guidance and ask guidance something like, why do I procrastinate? And listen for guidance's response.
Oh, that's great. Julia, let me scroll up for a second. A comment, your morning pages opened my spiritual life 27 years ago. I feel a deep sense of gratitude. There's a lot of gratitude for The Artist's Way in that chat, by the way, Julia. Somebody said, can you give some examples of the guidance we ask? Is there a specific length to the question, specific kind of terminology or structure to what we ask?
Well, I think it's best to ask something simple, like, what do I do next? And I think it's a good idea to keep your question to the point, and not give guidance several questions at once, but break it down to one at a time, and listening to the answers to one at a time. So I think
Okay.
that is that.
Yeah. Julia, what's the difference between the guidance tool and Jung's active imagination?
And Jung's active imagination?
Yes.
I think they're similar.
All right. This is going back over to writing. What about writers who have to deal with people who are trying to be shadow artists of real artists? How do you deal with that sort of thing?
This is again a question for guidance. You go to guidance and you say, what should I do about X? And you maybe name your shadow artist, and you'll get a brief, benevolent encounter with what you should do next. And I think off the top of my head, I would say keep creating.
Okay. I think for the people who are new to The Artist's Way and tuning in, maybe can you give a really quick insight into the other three tools? We've been talking about guidance, but can you mention the other three tools for them?
So, yes, I can. So the first tool, and the one that we're sort of most familiar with, is morning pages. And those are, again, 3 pages of longhand morning writing about absolutely anything that crosses your mind. So that's morning pages, and those are our daily practice. The second tool is a tool called the Artist's Date. And it sounds like what it is, which is it's half artist and half date. and you go out once a week. So morning pages are daily. Once a week, you go out and you do something festive. You play. You do something frivolous, something that speaks to your inner youngster. And I find when I teach, if I assign morning pages, their work, and people will say, "Oh, I'm going to work on my creativity." And they understand the concept of work, even in beautiful Vancouver. And so then I say, now I have a second tool, and I want you to play. And they get very skeptical. They cross their arms and tilt their heads and say, play. I don't see what play has to do with creativity. And I will say, well, actually, it has everything to do with creativity. We have an expression, the play of ideas, but we don't realize that that's a prescription. Play, and you will have ideas. So, artist dates are frivolous outings. My favorite one is going to a pet store where they have a big gray and white bunny named George. And I have permission from the owner to pet George. And when I pet George's silky coat, I get a wonderful feeling. And evidently, George gets a wonderful feeling too, because he seems to enjoy being petted. So you might do that. You might go to a children's bookstore. You might go to a floral shop. You might go to a bakery, something that wakes up your senses. So that's an artist date. The third tool is something that you do a couple times a week, and that's take yourself out for a walk. And you go by yourself. You don't take earphones. You don't take your dog. You simply take yourself out and try to be aware of your environment. And walking gives you a sense of benevolence. So that's the third tool. So those three tools are used, and then underneath them all is the tool of guidance. Joel?
Yeah. So those are the four tools. I just want to say for artist date, if anybody's interested in a great artist date, check out Julia's website, which is juliacameronlive.com. juliacameronlive.com, and you can go there. Thank you. You can go there. If you click on events, there are things that Julia's doing. There is an Artist Way course, video course that Julia did that you can access there. But if you click on Julia's art, what comes up are Julia's plays, musicals, poems. There's all these great short little songs about different kinds of flowers. It just filled. There's a movie that she did. It's all there. It's free. It's a great artist date, and it's just available to you at any time. So juliacameronlive.com, then click on Julia's art. And Julia, everybody always loves it when you share the poetry that you write, which is always available right there on the website. We still have quite a bit of time, but do you want to share some poetry?
Okay. Here's being a little bit woo-woo. This first poem is one called Remembering. I was not there when your mother bore you. Surely you came into this world hungering and wet. We all do that. Surely you came like the rest of us from that dark sea of souls, that sighing that brings us forth and calls us back. We all share that. If this is true, and it is even for you, why are you a broken glass smashed against the floor? Why not the sea's grass on the ocean floor? Why not a smooth stone, a willow in the wind? Why do you break, not bend? And even broken, why not mend? You do know how. Walk with me to the edge of the city. Take off your shoes and feel the earth. It is softer than a woman. It is safer than your father. It is water. It is air. It is where you are returning with this yearning you can't name. Cast off your shame. It's an old coat. Remember who you are. You are a star, a mountain, that fountain in the sun. Your heart is the velvet cave where birds sing. Are you remembering? And the next poem is a poem written in the persona of Earth. It's called Come to Me. Come to me. There is no darkness in which I cannot see you. Come to me. My green heart holds your ancestors. They are waiting to hear your dreams. Speak to them. They know your name. Do not imagine you are alone. Do not imagine they have left you. They are listening, waiting for your voice. Come home. All of us are waiting. Every bird remembers you. The lion, in his pride, still knows your name. The gazelle, the snake, the silver heron lifting at the shore. All these and more, your family. Come back to me. You do not need to grind your bones to dust, rusting your heart. You are known to us. Only come home.
So nice.
So I think the tool of guidance answers, you do not need to grind your bones to dust, rusting your heart.
Mm.
We sometimes think the guidance is difficult, but with practice, it's easy.
There's a lot of love for your poetry in the chat. People love it. So thank you for reading those. Back to questions. Julia, I have very vivid dreams every night. How can I best utilize this toward my creative life? And are you a dreamer too?
So, yes, I dream. And I don't know how you can use your dreams to best fulfill your creative life. I sometimes, when I do morning pages, will jot a very brief note. Last night, I dreamed about X, and I'll write it down. But what we don't want to do is use your morning pages as a dream journal. You need all 3 pages of your morning pages to bring you into contact with your current life. So you don't want to spend time writing out your dreams.
Julia, do you keep your artist journals your morning page journals? And if so, if you get rid of them, how do you get rid of them?
Okay. I used to keep them meticulously lined up because I thought that if I ever got assigned to write a memoir, I would need my morning pages journals. And then Joel assigned me to write a memoir, which I did. It's called Floor Sample. I consider myself the floor sample of my toolkit. And what I found was that I didn't once go back to morning pages. It was as if the act of writing them in the first place had made the events indelible. So you can do what you like with your morning pages journals. You can burn them, shred them, mutilate them, toss them. Joel, I think you have done something special with yours. Do you want to share that?
Well, I bought an industrial shredder so that I can shred them. I don't want any possibility that people would read them. In fact, my spouse and I have a pact that whichever one of us goes first, the other one will destroy all of our journals that are not yet destroyed. So that's a good pact to have, and somebody you can trust. Julia, do they have to be, this is 2 questions in one, do they have to be handwritten, and what size of page do I use?
Okay. Yes, they have to be handwritten. And 8.5 by 11, a sort of normal journal size is what you want to use. Because if you use a smaller size, you may find yourself miniaturizing your thoughts, and you don't want to do that. So 8.5 by 11 seems perfect. Or British size is A4, I think.
A4, okay. Because I know my artist boyfriend George is in the room. Julia, what pen do you like to use? He's a pen fanatic. Aficionado.
I use a Uniball 207.
And you like the bold tip.
I like the bold tip and
black ink.
And black ink. Joel, you know the answers to these questions.
I did get a message here. Julia, love your lipstick. What is the name of it? The important stuff.
I loved my lipstick too. It was called Breathing Fire. And they don't make it anymore. And I scooped up all that I could when they were still manufacturing it. And then recently I had Emma, who works with me, go on a search to find a lipstick that matched the color of the Breathing Fire. And she found something called Chiop. And she said, I don't know if that's a word, but it's the name of the color that's closest.
Is it also MAC?
No. So Emma Lively at gmail.com will answer lipstick questions.
That's funny. I wonder if she'll get some. Julia, are morning pages double-spaced?
No.
Julia created, by the way, a journal, the Artist's Way Morning Pages journal that she uses. Let's see if I can do this. And you can see it's 8.5 by 11 lined pages. So if you're struggling to find the right journal, this is a great one to go with. So, and I use a record book, a ledger record book, and it works just perfect. So, Julia, okay. This is one I didn't understand. I asked for clarification. They didn't write back yet, but she said, when you do your morning pages, can I do blurts and affirmations separately from morning pages? I don't know what a blurt is, but affirmations, can you do affirmations separately from morning pages?
Yes, you can do them afterward.
Yeah.
A blurt is an objection from your subconscious. When you make an affirmation, it's a positive affirmative statement. And a blurt is an objection to it. So you write out your affirmations. I am slender and graceful. And then you listen and you see if you hear a blurt. And the blurt may be, you're clumsy. And then you would write, I am graceful. You use your affirmations to combat your blurts.
I got it. I'm going to go back and find that exact word, because that person, Loretta, just said, Julia mentions it briefly. I thought I had every book memorized at this point, but I have to go back and find that exact thing. I remember that, you saying that now. Got it. Thank you. See, I'm learning a lot too. Julia, is it okay if I write my morning pages in bed?
It's awkward, but you can do it if you can do it.
Other people didn't know blurts either, so that's great. And other people are saying, I just found out that the journal I've been using is too small. So great, now she can. What about, can I get my coffee first?
I wouldn't dream of standing between somebody and their coffee. I just don't want you to spend 45 minutes brewing the perfect cup. So one of the habits that I had, now I'm a tea drinker, but when I was a coffee drinker, I would make my coffee the night before, and I would put it in the carafe, and I would put it in the refrigerator, so that when I got up in the morning, I had iced coffee with my morning pages, and that the iced coffee was already prepared.
Julia, I often end up coaching myself in my pages. Is that okay?
Coaching myself?
Yeah.
I'm not sure quite what you mean by that.
It might mean that they kind of tell themselves, no, you can do it. This is good. Maybe you should try this. Maybe you should call this person, or something along those lines.
If that's what they mean, I think it's fine.
All right. I'm on the hunt for blurts. Somebody said it's in chapter 1 of the book, so I'm on the hunt. I didn't know my morning pages, my Artist's Way was incomplete. Is it bad to write my morning pages later in the day, like an hour or two after waking up? Or should I redirect to just doing it as soon as possible?
You're answering your own question. Yes, you should do it as soon as possible. And Jungians tell us we have a 45-minute window before our defenses are in place. So I think getting to the morning pages as quickly as you can is the way to go.
Okay, answering this question, double space is not okay? No, she said single space. And that just answered, how much time do you have to wake up earlier than normal? Julia just said about 45 minutes is the period of time that we have. So that might be a good space of time. Julia, do you have any advice for my biggest obstacle to myself? I want to write, but feel that I don't know what I want to write about and often think everything has already been written.
All right, Right for Life answers
And that is one of the specific things in this book.
So
do you think guidance would be good for that, Julia?
I think guidance of what can I write can be very fruitful. And one of the things that happened to me with writing the guidance book was I asked, what can I write about? And I got told, write about your friends. And so when you read the guidance book, you will be meeting my close friends. And they are people who believe in guidance and people who support guidance. And the book is dedicated to a friend of mine, Jeanette Aycock. And it says, whose firm belief in guidance bolsters my own. And I will talk to Jeanette at night, and sometimes I'll bring something up, and she'll say, did you ask guidance about that? And I'll say, no. And she'll say, well, maybe you better ask guidance about that. And so I do.
We've got about 3 more minutes, and there's a few more questions that maybe we can answer just quickly. Julia, this person basically is saying that they write their morning pages when things are difficult, but then stops when things are okay and then returns to them when it's difficult. Is that okay? Or should I make it a rigorous daily practice even if I don't feel a need?
You should make it a rigorous daily practice even if you don't feel a need. You're answering your own question.
That's right. Is there a minimum of pages to be done with Living the Artist's Way like there is with The Artist's Way? I wonder if they mean guidance pages, because morning pages is 3 specific pages. You don't have a specific guidance page count.
No, and I have exercises in the book for you to practice writing guidance. So I would say, read the book slowly and do the practices.
Somebody said they didn't know that there was a 3-page limit. They've been doing longer morning pages, but you always say stop at 3 pages.
Yes, because what happens if you go more than 3 pages is that you begin to be writing, forgive me for saying this, narcissistically. And the point of morning pages is to move us into action. And the danger if you write more than 3 pages is that you evade taking action.
All right. I think that's it. Let me just sum up. A lot of these answers you can find by reading the book, Living the Artist's Way. Remember to go to juliacameronlive.com. She does have an online course there that you can take, but also her wonderful section called Julia's Art is there. For those of you who've been wanting to get in touch with me, you can just do that through Facebook. We want to, I know, make sure to thank Banyan Books again for hosting this. Banyan Books has been such a great friend to Julia Cameron and The Artist's Way over the years. And for all of you, so many wonderful questions. What a great group of people. And I hope you love the book. And for those of you who are writers, I'm not just trying to sell you a book. This book answers all those questions you were asking. So this is a good resource for you as well. So Julia, last thoughts?
I would like to read one more poem. So if you'll bear with me, it's called Unprepared. I'm not prepared for this. I can't pronounce this bliss. The way we flow, the knowing where to go. This ebb and flow. Can't we take it slow? Where are the walls? The shadows in the halls? This light, can it be right? Where does it come from? I've known a different sun, walked a different earth where air was used for grieving. I think we're leaving. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jacob?
Thank you so much, both of you. It's so inspiring and delightful. And thank you, everyone, for coming out for this wise counsel on seeking guidance. You can get Julia's book at banyan.com, all of her books. And so again, thank you again, both of you. It's always a delight. And until next time.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you,
Thank
Ben.
you.
Thank you, crowd.
Thanks for joining us for Branches of Wisdom, a podcast of Banyan Books and Sound, Canada's spiritual and healing resource since 1970. Our podcast producer is Jacob Steele. Watch all our conversations on YouTube by searching for Banyan Books, or listen on your favorite podcast platform. Please subscribe, follow, like, and leave your reviews and comments. We love to hear from you. For all our live events, books, and more, visit us at banyan.com.